Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with me once again, your beautiful host, Zach, with another beautiful guest this week, Michael Devellano. What's going on, Michael? How you doing on this? Well, for me, it's a cold Tuesday, but you're down
Not
there in
warm.
the sunshine, I think. How you doing today?
It's still chilly, but it's not like where you are for sure.
Yeah, we're about to get dumped on, I think, 2 to 4 inches of snow here
Oh
in
my
Michigan. And
God.
it's supposed to turn into like freezing rain, sleet, early morning too. So bad for dogs, bad for everyone who has to commute to work. Why don't you go ahead and take the time, the moment to let everyone know who you are, where they can find you, and what exactly you're all about.
I'm on Twitter at pucksandreams_. So Pucks and Dreams on Twitter /X. I'm the head North American scout for Gold Star Hockey. We're a hockey agency with players you've heard of like Nikita Kucherov, Andrei Vasilevsky, Zane Parekh. You can kind of go down the list. There's some. Who's our other? I went to see the New Jersey Devils and I forgot. I'm like, wait, we have Paul Cotter. Yeah, we have a lot of Russian players though, like some of the best Russian players you would know. And then just been scouting for, I guess this is like 8 years I've been scouting, and then prior history as a coach, as a director of coaching, as a GM, assistant GM, all over the place.
Well, nice. Yeah. If you guys do not follow Michael already on his platforms, whether that be on Twitter, X, or even on YouTube, Michael does have his YouTube channel as well, where he does go on there talking about all sorts of different teams and players around the NHL, not just on Detroit Red Wings. But it's always a pleasure having you on, Michael. Thank you for joining me to do this once again. And thank you to all those stopping by and watching us again. If you are returning or if you're brand new, thank you so much for stopping by. Carlo and I truly do appreciate it. If you are watching or listening to us on YouTube, go ahead, take the moment to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, hit that notification bell, because that lets you know when these brand new episodes come out throughout the week. We record every Sunday, and then I'm trying to get a guest appearance episode throughout the week here in this month of December for the holidays for you boys and girls at home. And so, Michael, why don't we just go ahead and jump right into it? And let's touch on the big boys on the back end between Moritz Seider and Seider Edvinsson, who right now, they're looking like a top 3 pair in the NHL right now. And amongst all the rumors, we'll touch on Quinn Hughes here. And I know I'm touching on him a little bit early, but with all the rumors of Quinn Hughes and some thinking that Seider Edvinsson could be part of a package deal going back to Vancouver, slightly touching on it, I believe it does not make sense for the Detroit Red Wings just based on what we are seeing from these two so far this season. Touching on Moritz Seider and his 30 games so far this season, he's got 4 goals, 18 assists for 22 points. He's a plus-minus 11. And then you're looking at Seider Edvinsson in 27 games. He's got 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points and is a plus-minus 5 as well. And at the beginning of the season, the Detroit Red Wings had Seider Edvinsson down on the second pair, paired with Axel Sandin Pellikka. They eventually moved him up, bumped Sherratt down, which obviously is the better fit for both of those pairings. Obviously, ASP comes with his own bumps along the road, being a rookie in the NHL, only 20 years old, still a little bit undersized. But going back to these two have been phenomenal in the NHL, especially in the start of this season. So why don't you go ahead and talk about each one individually and them as a pair, what you've seen and liked from them so far this season with the Detroit Red Wings?
I mean, first, these are two monsters. They can both skate. Edvinsson's way meaner than you would have ever guessed.
Oh yeah.
Like he is happy to face wash guys. He's happy to use his size. He has no problem with that. Like I think he didn't have that reputation when he was drafted. It was known that he's a big, tall kid. At the time, he was about 6'4", and now he's like obviously 6'6". To have a guy that is that big and can skate that well and is mean and does have decent offensive tools. I don't know if he has like super high end offensive IQ. I think that will keep getting better over time as he realizes what he can do. But to have a guy that big that can skate that well, can contribute offensively just based on his athletic performance, that's a unique package. We already know Mo Seider's like, is he 24 now? You got a 22-year-old and a 24-year-old. And Mo, like, frankly, like last year when they were making the coaching change, the one thing that always stood out to me was the press conference. super mature. He's not just a big guy. He's steady Eddie back there. He's not perfect defensively. Like he has some mistakes positioning sometimes, and he sometimes gets overconfident in his size and positioning. But generally, for the amount of ice time that he chews up, and to also have 22 points in 30 games, he's probably on pace for his best season. I think that probably puts him at 55 or 54 points if he keeps on this current trend. His best prior season was 50 points. I don't know whether they're a pair or not. I think that's a great. Those are two defensemen in your top three that not many teams have that. So you've got to be pretty happy with that. You saw what it was like without him in the lineup. When Edvinsson was hurt, that's when there's a massive drop off from Seider and Edvinsson. ASP is clearly in that realm talent wise. Like he's a unique talent, but that pairing, there's a big drop off in just their overall package of offense, defense, size, skating. ASP is a special piece, but then from there it's like a cliff, right? So you can see if they lose a piece like that, the difference is pretty dramatic.
Yeah, I would agree with you there that it is a huge decrease in terms of talent that is on the defensive end for this team. And that's not to discredit someone like ASP, because like I mentioned earlier, being so young, it's his first NHL season, definitely undersized, still has a lot of room to grow, but you can definitely see it out on the ice, especially in last night's game, even the past two games as well. But touching on the Vancouver game last night that the Detroit Red Wings played, ASP came out walking with two primary assists, one coming off a goal from Nate Danielson. So why don't you go ahead and touch on some of these younger guys as well? Let's talk about Nate Danielson, that whole entire fourth line of him, Marco Kasper, and Elmer Söderblom, and what you've liked so far out of what Carlo likes to call the discovery line.
The discovery line. Well, they're paying the bills like Discover Card, but I don't know, like Danielson, I kind of knew this is what you're going to get. He's just a reliable 200-foot guy that's way faster and has, he protects the puck extremely well, so he can afford to be patient with it. He sticks that hip and leg out, and he puts it just out of your reach, and he keeps moving. And if you stop moving your feet, he's going to go around you. He's got good speed. He's like a real good, strong skater. And he's got good playmaking skills, and we've seen he's got some finish. So, I mean, he's a very unusual package. Emmett Finney, I think, has played with that group, right? We've seen him cycle down a little bit. But, Kasper had probably one of his best games of the year. He's had a really rough start, got his first assist of the year. I think he's got 3 goals on the year. Is that right?
3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points in 30 games played.
So I think we all expected a lot more.
Of course.
He's young, so I don't think there's panic there. I mean, even Lucas Raymond had a dip in his second-year production.
Larkin, a lot of these players did.
Unless your name is Macklin Celebrini or Connor McDavid, then there's no sophomore slump. And I think it's just like you come in, you're aggressive, you have no expectation. You can come in and take chances and do a bang-up job, and you're not squeezing your stick so tight. I think there was a lot of pressure coming in, especially when Nate Danielson was hurt, that he was just going to solidify that second line with DeBrincat and with Kane. And then when that didn't quite happen, like, it is what it is. Like, he's not long-term going to be a problem. The talent's still there. He's healthy. He's got some good size. He's going to be fine. And we saw last night, he came out and played a great game. So I think just as long as that pressure kind of lifts or he adjusts to the role that's expected, he's a really good player. And like last year, like if we recall, like he wasn't always at center. So, he played wing, he played center, and it seems like he's still very comfortable doing either. So I think that's been a great move to have him on the third line, out of the line of sight of maybe the top 2 lines of the other teams. And then playing Nate, I think Nate's just a calming type of guy. Like Nate Danielson, one thing that people maybe aren't talking about yet, but they're going to, he is going to be a captain someday. This guy is a leader, like a very, very unusual leader. And if you look at like the feedback that I always got from teams he played on, it was like he is a true leader. The guys follow him. He's just quiet. He does his job. And when the game's on the line, he wants the puck. And he just protects it and buys time for everybody. And I think that's just going to more and more translate in the NHL. And then, Soda is like, he's a monster. And I just think he's got so much more to give out there. I was thinking, like, when they were on kind of some crazy losing streaks where they're letting in 6 goals a game. And the one big thing that you have to realize is they're not that big on the wings and down the middle for the most part, depending on how you deploy them. So when you add Danielson and Kasper down the middle, or you just at least have Danielson, it slows things down for the other team. You need the big bodies there to do that. And, they have a lot of undersized guys. So having a guy like Söderblom, if you can get him playing the way you want, keeping his feet moving, he does have really good hands. So I think I'm glad to see that he's getting third line time with those two guys. And I just think that whoever plays with Danielson's going to have success.
Yeah, and the one thing that I really like about Nate Danielson's game is that he's not afraid to go into the tough areas out on the ice. You see him constantly going towards the net front, getting aggressive and trying to put the puck into the net. I absolutely love that. But touching on this line overall, yeah, you have Marco Kasper up there, who is actually tied for first on the team with hits, tied with Ben Sherratt, the overnight assassin, OT Benny with 72. Then you're looking at someone like Elmer Söderblom, who's only played in 17 games. He's 6th on the team with 30 hits. And then even just touching on some of the other names, Emmett Finney is 3rd on the team with 57, Moritz Seider 57. So they're both tied. Simon Edvinsson's 5th on the team with 34. And then Albert Johansson is 7th on the team for 30. So 6 of the 7 leaders on this team and hits come from players 25 and under. And you talked about Nate Danielson potentially at some point in time, you think it's more likely than none becoming a captain for whichever team that he ends up playing on.
Detroit.
Hopefully Detroit. We'll have to wait and see for that, but he's going to have to fight Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond on that.
Well, that's true. I mean, I think he'll be one of the leadership group, and I just think his character is really, he's very much capable at some point of being an NHL captain. And I think you're lucky that you have a guy like Seider. Like, Seider's got that same maturity. He's got that same, like, take charge attitude. And I think that's just unique today. I think a lot of guys like to blend in.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that should speak volume to Detroit Red Wings fans at home watching and listening to this, that is the MO type of player that Steve Yzerman and the scouting staff are looking for. They say that every single draft, he's got the leadership ability. Most of them, at least with most of their first round picks, I would say that they definitely have that. The maturity level, the hockey IQ that they have within the game, even the veterans that we've signed. Carlo always likes to say Andrew Kopp's going to be a head coach in the NHL one day, because the way he speaks and the way that, he knows how to play the game. Granted, obviously it comes with lapses. That's going to happen, but his hockey IQ knowledge is definitely there. We've seen it with players like JVR, who we just brought in as well, who's having a fantastic season. Let's shift focus there and touch on someone like James Van Riemsdyk, who's been hot lately. In his last, I think it's 7 games, he's got 6 goals now, and then 4 for 4 in the last 4 games. So someone coming in at a 1-year deal for $1 million. Would you say that this is probably Steve Yzerman's best free agent signing, Michael?
I mean, this is the production's been awesome. He's much more effective than maybe I would have guessed. I know he had a good year last year, and that was kind of with third line minutes, and he kind of excels in certain special situations, but he's got silky smooth hands. He's got a little bit of size, and he's got a much better veteran presence than I remember. When he was in Toronto, I didn't think that there was a lot of gumption in the way he played, but I don't know. He's been really, really good. He's got, you think about how old he is. He's an 89, I think. So if you look back at that draft, Patrick Kane went first in that draft as an overaged 1988 birth year, and he's an 89. So he's not young. He's like, he plays a lot younger than he is. I think he's what a great addition. He had 16 goals last year, so I think that's all we were expecting. I think right now he's on pace for like 2021.
Carla and I brought this up on our most recent episode. If you guys watching and listening have not caught that episode, go ahead and check that out. Covers last week's breakdowns on all the games, and then touching on some other topics as well, like the Discovery line and a little bit about the Quinn Hughes rumblings. But you look at Patrick Kane, he also brought in Mason Appleton, even touching on the Andrew Cops like we did, the Ben Sherratts, but mostly speaking on JVR because he's been in the league for so long, a former second overall pick kind of guy. Seems like he knows what he's doing on and off the ice, so the hockey IQ is there. Would you say that Steve Yzerman McClellan had an inclination to insert the three rookies that we see right now in Nate Danielson, Emmett Finney, ASP, and Steve Yzerman acquiring these older guys to help out transition these younger guys into becoming NHL caliber players as they continue in their tenure with the Detroit Red Wings?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been trying to do that for a while, and now you're seeing guys are old enough, strong enough, and capable of taking those roles. Finney definitely came out of the blue for me. I think we thought maybe Carter Mazur was ahead of him, and I don't know if I ever projected him to be a top six, but he's very, very good in a top six role. Like the glue guy. Like right now, he's probably on pace for what, like 15, 16 goals and like maybe 35 points if he keeps on the current pace. Rough math. That's a bit of a shock, you know. I think it's another really good Western League player that comes in well prepared to play a pro game. Like he's got awesome hockey IQ. He's much faster than I realized, and he's got better overall skill level. So I mean, this is a great pick, like a 7th round pick.
Yeah, shades of Zetterberg. Yeah,
it's crazy. So if you think about, yeah, that's right. Like, well, let's not go crazy, but we'll give him time. That's a lot of pressure. But yeah, I mean, we've had various older guys plugged into different roles, and now you see like they're not just going to stick a 20-year-old unless he steals the role. And to have, even at the beginning of the year, you had Branson Nygaard, ASP, Finney all make the team. Nate Danielson would have made the team, you know, if not for the early injury problem. It's definitely a testament to now that we're seeing such depth of talent, and now there's more guys behind. Like we still have Carter Bear in the system. Like that's kind of crazy. You have Carter Bear, you got Jen Borg crushing it. You've got the Kiiskinen, Jesse Kiiskinen is still an option in the future. Like there's a guy that's doing really well in the Swedish Elite League. He's probably 0.8 points per game right now. He's a goal scorer and he's got some size to him. Like he's tall and lanky. So he's an interesting player. Like there's just so much there that you've got to imagine that it's going to get tougher and tougher to keep signing these older guys or keep them. You know, some of their contracts are going to expire, and it's going to be a question of, if you do re-sign, like, do we have room for you? And if we do, is it a lower dollar number? You know, I think you're going to see that happen more and more now that we see the young guys bubbling up.
Yeah, let me give you the crazy stat of the year, or for the whole 100 years of the Detroit Red Wings organization being here. On Saturday versus Seattle, Emmett Finney, Nate Danielson, ASP, so a former 7th round, first round, and another first round in the 2023 NHL draft. Finney's power play goal assisted by Danielson and ASP is the first time in franchise history 3 first-year players from the same draft combined on the same goal. How crazy is it
that's fun
that it took 100 years for a team to, what's more crazy? Is it more crazy that it took the Red Wings 100 years to get a stat like this, or the fact that I think that this is only the second time in the NHL that they said it, or it's very few far in between?
So it was, let's see, who was it? It was Finney, Danielson, and what? ASP? Yeah, that makes sense. 2023 was interesting because they had I think they had 2 first-round picks, right? Danielson and ASP. ASP came in the Roenick deal, which, you know, I was sad to see Philip Roenick go, but I mean, you wouldn't want to give ASP back now. So that's worked out okay. And then they had Trey Augustine, I think was in that same draft. Andrew Gibson became Jesse Kiiskinen. So probably a bit of a drop-off. Well, then Finney is like a 7th rounder in that draft. So that's crazy. That's kind of a nutty draft. That's a really unusual draft. I mean, just they obviously stockpiled like a bunch of 1st and 2nd round picks there, but that's what happens. I guess they bust through a couple years later. And even last year, like you look, like that was a pretty good draft too. You know, like Branson Nygaard is obviously doing really well in the AHL. Like he's had a pretty seamless transition to the A. And then Max Plant's doing really well. He's playing really well in the NCAA. So those are two guys that you got to project like at some point they're going to be able to play in the NHL. And then even last year, like Jenborg, Bear, you mentioned the goalie Prattle. He's another big goalie that's doing really well in the USHL. Brent Solomon's doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot in the system now.
Yeah, we're going to, as we continue along, I do want to highlight a lot of those players when we start talking about the Quinn Hughes, because I want to talk about what I've been noticing amongst Red Wings fandom on Twitter. I put out a tweet out there on what my thoughts and opinions are on it and the approach that Steve Yzerman should, in my personal opinion, take when it comes to targeting and trading for a Quinn Hughes, a Norris winning defenseman on your back end. But let's transition over to goalies. I know that this is a huge spot for you because it's no secret that Trey Augustine ended up going back to Michigan State University for his third season in the NCAA. A lot of people would probably say he didn't even need to go back for a second time. Now he's there for his third time, and he's absolutely destroying it. In his 14 games that he started in, he's got a 1.71 goals against and a 937 save percentage, 3 shutouts for a 10-4 record. Probably would be a little bit better if his first couple games weren't a little silent, a little sleepy there.
He had a slow start.
Yeah, slow start.
Yeah,
and then you look at Sebastian.
The first 4 games.
Yep. Then you look at Sebastian Cossa with the Grand Rapids Griffins, absolutely tearing it up. This is his track record. Kind of has a rough first season, kind of picks it up in the second season. Then by the third season, you're like, okay, maybe this guy's ready for the next step. But Sebastian Cossa, in his 11 starts, a 1.56 goals against average and a save percentage of 943 for 2 shutouts and a 10-1 record. And I think the Griffins, they're 20-1 and or 1, and it's just absolutely ridiculous how good the Grand Rapids Griffins are this season. How much do you put that on Sebastian Cossa, Mike?
I mean, if you look at the Griffins, they're stacked, right? Like they've got some pro guys that went down, including Justin Hall. Like whether you like him or not, he's been able to hold an NHL job for a long time. For them to put him down, he's going to help them out quite a bit. You know, they're just stacked. Like you've just got 3 strong forward lines. You've got probably one of the best, deepest defenses in the whole AHL. You know, they got some size on that back line, like Wallander. You've got Hall. You've got Tuomisto. Like that's a big back end. And then you got monster goalies. You know, I mean, Postov is not, I guess, that big, but he's obviously very good. Like he's the same age as Cossa, and the numbers aren't too far off. So they're a very, very deep team. So not to take anything away from Cossa, but he was hurt and they were still crushing it. Right? He's done everything you could ask of him. He's on his 4th minor league season. He hasn't started a single NHL game. He got in for like 2 of 3 periods in 1 NHL game last year. And that's got to be a little, you know, crazy because his contemporary Wallstead did not even look like he was on the right track last year. Like, I know there was some injury stuff going on, and they were a terrible team in Iowa by comparison. And look what he's doing in the NHL. Like, does he have 5 shutouts? Does he have 5 shutouts in his first 11 games or something in the NHL between?
Crazy stat line, for sure.
Yeah, and I think if we spoke a year ago, you were saying, wow, this guy looks like he's not on the right track. And Cossa looks like he's surpassed him as far as performance, maybe. And maybe that was just getting over something. But you've got to say, like, there's still not really anything separating them other than one's in the NHL and one's in the AHL. So you got to think like, man, get Cossa into some NHL games. You got nothing to lose. Yes, you've got 2 veteran goalies and, you know, you've got kind of this seniority thing. Both of them are 3 goals against or more and well under 900 save percentage. Like, fit him a game or 2 somehow. Like he should honestly have 6 or 7 games this year. That's what should happen.
Well, I think the only reason why we haven't seen that call up yet is obviously because I believe Postava is still out with an injury. I think they're waiting on that. When Mason Appleton got injured and then Rasmussen, he was out for illness or whatever it was as well for a little bit of times. I was hoping for a call up for Sebastian Cossa, because the goaltending was definitely a sore point amongst the Red Wings fandom, us included. But it's no secret, Michael, this defense isn't exactly outside of, like we mentioned, Moritz, Seider, Simon Edvinsson, a little bit of ASP. I mean, OT Benny, the overnight assassin, he's having a contract year, as Carlo loves to say. Maybe there is an opportunity there to extend him for one more season with the Detroit Red Wings. We're just going to have to wait and see. That'll be touched on here in a little bit as well as we continue along. But do you believe that Sebastian Cossa would be better? And I'm going to temper this because John Gibson, I believe the last 2 games has actually looked very phenomenal against the Kraken and then the Canucks last night with his 39 save shutout. So props to him on getting that for his first career in Detroit. Do you believe Sebastian Cossa would be performing better behind the current defense that we have?
I don't think I'm looking at it from that point of view. And I know people are like, just bring them up and replace them.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking is the career of Sebastian Cossa needs NHL starts. In order to get I've always looked at it, if you look at the math of guys that are kind of his contemporaries, you got to slowly break them in over time. Like, you've had 2 seasons prior to this where Wallstedt got starts. It's not like he had 40 games, but they're working in 1, 2, and then they work in like 6 to 10. And next thing you know, he's ready. And I think that's what you need to start doing. You need to break him in. And giving him 40 minutes in the NHL to this point is not ideal. Like, ideally, they would have fit him in for 3 or 4 games last year. And you look at what Wallsted's doing, like, there's talk of being able to trade Gustafsson, which I don't know why you would want to do that. Maybe it's a contract thing. And he's a good young goalie. I don't know if is he that young? He's probably getting up there a little bit, but he's a good goalie. He's an NHL goalie that, popped through when he was ready. And I think that's the same thing. Like, he's 23. You would have liked to have seen him have 6 or 7 games by now. And then maybe this year you get, maybe you do 2 and then 4. And then this year you get 6 or 7. And then he's ready for next year. And otherwise, you're like making a choice. Like, okay, well, he doesn't have. Yes, he's got pro seasons under his belt, but not NHL games. And I think what you need usually for guys like that is you need 100 to 160 AHL games, and you need like 30 to 60 NHL games before they're really ready. And he's got the AHL stars, but there's nothing in the NHL stars that kind of help that. And maybe it won't matter, but that's what you saw with Wallstedt. You saw that with Askarov. You got, even Gustafsson, if you look at his career, there's a good example. Or Dustin Wolf. Look at Dustin Wolf, right? Like, Dustin Wolf played a bunch of AHL games, started working into NHL games, and then he's ready to take over the number 1 gig. And that's kind of what you need to do to build them up. You don't want to just throw them in there. And you don't want them sitting.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And there could be, it could just be very different in terms of the circumstance where
True.
maybe there is the ability for Sebastian Cossa to not get any starts at all this season. It's no secret that Cam Talbot won't be on the team next season because his contract is up. He's almost 40.
Isn't that crazy?
I can't imagine that the Detroit Red Wings are going to extend him. Maybe another team does in the NHL, like the Edmonton Oilers. Everyone knows they could use help from anyone at this point.
That's interesting. Like, if you're Detroit, do you trade him to an Edmonton, knowing they need that goalie?
If they came knocking and, knowing what we have in Sebastian Cossa and giving him the ability to finally get some meaningful starts within the NHL, and if John Gibson continues on being confident, cool, calm, collected that he's been in net between the pipes for us as of late, yeah, if a team like Edmonton comes knocking, I know that I don't think their draft pick situation is actually looking that great currently right now off the top of my head, but you're not really doing it for the sake of getting something great in return. But talking about Emmett Finney, we got him in the 7th round, so anything can really happen. Even someone like Amadeus Lombardi, I believe, was a former 4th round or 3rd round pick for us too as well. So, but let's shift focus over to Trey Augustine. I did touch on him before we went and talked about Sebastian Cossa, but same thing relevant to Sebastian Cossa. If you don't know, you don't know what you have in Trey Augustine because he's only played in the NCAA for 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Before we started recording, you had somewhat of a theory on Trey Augustine, I guess, if that's really what you want to call it. Trey Augustine, I believe he's going to be with Grand Rapids Griffins next season. I don't see why he wouldn't want to be a part of the Detroit Red Wings. They do have Postava signed up for next season as well. So you make it the 1A, 1B tandem situation. Carter Gylander, who we've seen get some stints with the Grand Rapids Griffins as well in his 5 games. He's got a 201 goals against and a 930 save percentage, but he's in the final year of his contract. He's also 24 years old. Opportunities for the Red Wings to down in Grand Rapids, or up in Grand Rapids, I should say, rotate 3 goalies again. That I'm not sure. Maybe Gylander wants to continue playing in Toledo. Who knows? But go ahead and let the fans know about your potential theory on maybe there's an opportunity where Trey Augustine doesn't want to play with the Detroit Red Wings because of what we've seen with Sebastian Cossa. How long is it going to take for Trey Augustine to make it to the Detroit Red Wings?
I mean, I think it's a risk. No, I don't think there's any slam dunk. I think they're all thinking he's going to sign. And if he does, I'm excited. That's great. If you're his agent, you're going, oh, I've got these bugs everywhere. That's what happens when you live in the country. Come back from New York to like Asheville, got bugs attacking me. If you're his agent, you have a different landscape in the NCAA next year. I don't know if everybody saw, but there's that big private equity deal with Utah around the Utes. And there's $500 million that they've invested in the Utah University. How does that work? Well, how it works is these are sports franchises. You can say they're schools all you want, but these are multi-sport, sport franchises are these American universities. And Michigan is no different. They have tons of money coming from multiple sources, not just tickets. They have obviously media revenue, but then there's also like tuition and donations. Mm-hmm. So next year is interesting because, they're going to have NIL money, which is what they've been paying with guys with now. And, I don't know what he's getting. I'm sure there's a way to figure that out. But why wouldn't you pay a Trey Augustine $1 million, $1.2 million that's going to be more than an entry-level contract, and then he gets to go UFA? Like if you're Michigan, you're thinking about that. Especially if he wins a national championship, or maybe if he doesn't win a national championship. He's crushing that level right now, and it's not the best thing for his development. Like if you look at his contemporary, which is Jacob Fowler, Fowler's in the AHL doing really, really well. Seamless transition, getting pro starts. And yes, I think there's a 1-year age difference between them, but he spent 2 years in the NCAA and then went pro. And that's kind of what I look at with, that would have been an ideal scenario. And I realized the crease was crowded, but if you're Trey Augustine and you think that you have a 4-year wait to get to the NHL, why wouldn't you go back to NCAA, get paid more, finish your degree, whether, it seems to be important to him, and then go UFA and sign with who you want and get a guarantee of when you're going to be in the NHL, maybe even right away.
You are slowly crushing the hearts and dreams of little Detroit Red Wings fans out there watching and listening to this with this kind of slander. Michael, I'm totally messing with you when I say that. I know it's not slander, yes, but there are a lot of people within Red Wings fan base that are very high on Trey and would make the argument that he is going to be better than Sebastian Cossa when it's all said and done in their careers.
Who knows? You don't know, right? I think that's why the safe money would have been pushed to get him signed right away, like they did with Fowler. Like Fowler ended his year last year and went and played AHL games and signed. So he burned a year of his ELC, which was to the player's benefit. And they're fine. We'll pay you, burn that. You're going to be a free agent, even though it's restricted, a year sooner than you would. Trey Augustine hasn't signed anything. And now he's like, not saying that he's thinking this, but, agents are very similar. And if you're his agent, you're thinking, hey, maybe this is an option, right? If we don't get what we want out of them, which is no, you're going to get so many NHL starts or you're going to get an opportunity. And I can't see Detroit guaranteeing any of that. Doesn't seem to be the culture there. And yes, I understand the hometown thing. Like there's an emotional part there. They're like, oh, he's a Michigan guy. And do you really want to stay in Michigan your whole life? If someone pays you to go somewhere cooler, like better weather and more money and a guaranteed NHL start, you're going to think about that. Like, nobody wants to be in Toledo and then 3 years in Grand Rapids. That's what I dreamed of. He's going to want some sort of path to the NHL because he is a very high level goalie. He's one of the most talented goalie prospects in the world, like maybe top 2, right?
I currently, at this point, I would 100% agree with you on that. Yeah.
He's up there. You got Fowler in the mix there. You still have Cossa. You see 2 guys that have technically graduated in Askarov and Wallstead now.
Yeah, so you can't classify them anymore.
I mean, you could, but they're still like they're showing they're everyday NHLers.
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
You go, okay, well, you got Trey and you got Jacob Fowler. Like those are great goalies. Ravensburger's in that category. Like that's another really top prospect. There's not many of them. But with him, like he can kind of write his own ticket. So yes, I hope he signs at the end of this season. Like I hope he goes through, it's over, they sign him, and there's no concern. But you've got to be a little concerned. You just want to see it happen. And if it doesn't, then it's not a stupid play on his part.
No, I agree with you there. And I do remember Steve Yzerman, when he was asked about it, it was at some point in the offseason on what the decision was to allow Trey Augustine to go back to Michigan State University. They made it sound like that it was an open table invitation to whether if he wanted to come play in Grand Rapids or go back to the NCAA. Based on that, me putting my tinfoil hat on, he wants to be that guy. No matter what league, what team he plays on, he is that guy. I know that I said earlier, my projection for him next season, if he were to sign an entry-level deal with the Detroit Red Wings, is that, yeah, you go to Grand Rapids, and then, like I was telling you, you go 1A, 1B with Postava. There's a very good chance that he might not even want something like that. We touched on Carter Gylander as well. However, I do believe that there is, it kind of goes back to
you need
the whole Sebastian. It goes back to the whole. Go ahead.
Yeah, Zach, you're right. You need AHL time for him, right? Like I don't think he's getting, like, people have rose-colored glasses because they went to school in NCAA Div 1 schools. I look at those rosters. There's 10 or 11 really top teams. That's it. And they each, they're playing 5-6 teams over and over and over to get to 40 games. Right? They're not playing a 68 game pro schedule with pro guys that are older, that have already blown that level away or come from Canadian. Like, pro is better than NCAA. I have bad news for you. It's like football, right? 93% of guys in NCAA football never play pro. It's the same thing, or maybe worse in hockey. Like NCAA, whatever you think, is not as deep as CHL. And you can just look at the rosters and tell. Yes, guys are older. That's it. And yes, they stole a bunch of top talent. Guess what? There's more talent in the CHL, right? Okay, great. So then if you're like thinking that's the best place for him, no, he's got to get AHL starts. He's got to play pro shots. He's got to play guys. There's a reason there's not high scoring in NCAA. People are like, oh, it's a defensive game. Really? Watch it. It doesn't look like a defensive game. There's just not the depth of talent. And there's some great players. Don't get me wrong. But they're a lot of the younger guys, right? It's a lot of the younger high talent players that are going to age out or going to leave before they age out.
Yeah, correct.
So yes, they're playing older guys, but that's like the U.S. development model. You got 16, 17-year-olds playing USHL, which against 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And you kind of have that in the CHL. But for Trey Augustine, is that the best thing for him? No. He should be in the AHL. His development starts day zero of the AHL or NHL. That's my opinion. So that has not started yet. You can see his numbers have crushed it more and more. It was last year he crushed it. Now it's like super destroying that league. Like, he's just so good. And it's a very strong team. So anyways, I just think you need AHL starts for him. It would have been ideal if it was now. There is some risk he doesn't sign. And the best thing that happens is he gets a national championship. He feels like there's nothing to go back and fight for. And to your point, they just sign him at the end of the year and get him 2 or 3 or 4 AHL starts. Not NHL, but AHL starts. And that's what you hope happens. Please.
Please, Trey Augustine, sign that entry-level deal. Steve Yzerman, get that done. Yeah, boys and girls listening and watching at home, go ahead, let us know down in the comments what you think about Michael's theory. Slandering. I'm just kidding. Not slander. I know
it's like reality. It's like business. Like they have a loophole. You think agents are not going to play that card?
we're going to have to wait and see. And hopefully that happens with another player that we're going to be talking about here pretty soon. We just got one more player that we have to talk about. But yes, Trey Augustine. Let us know down in the comments what you guys think about Michael's theory on Trey Augustine, on the potential of him not signing an entry-level deal with the Detroit Red Wings. But Michael, let's shift focus back over to a player that you actually mentioned and someone that used to work I should say this very carefully, that you used to work closely with technically because you were part of that team, the Everett Silvertips, and Carter Bear, who actually was invited to Canada's World Junior Championship roster. I believe that they're practicing now. Michael, correct me if I'm wrong there. I'm not really following it too well, but Carter Bear, I think he's having a fine season so far. He had that injury, so he had to catch up a little bit, but in 23 games, 13 goals, 14 assists, 27 points. I believe he's projected to be under what he had in terms of point totals last season. Barely, and we'll see. Correct. Yes, because I have been noticing he's been getting out plenty of multi-point games. He's had a hat trick here and there, I believe, as well. So your thoughts and opinions on Carter Bear, what you've seen out of him so far this season, and what it means to be invited to the World Junior Championship for Team Canada.
I mean, just to be clear, I was scouting, not scouting the province he was from. So I was scouting the USA. But, I have exposure to him in training camp and saw every training camp how he improved and the way he played and carried himself. He's got kind of like that stoic demeanor, excellent hockey IQ. He's willing to mix it up, but he had a tough injury. So he had like the Achilles, I don't even think it was a rupture. I think he got stepped on with a skate last year. And they were kind of hush-hush about it initially. That's a tough injury to come back from. When you have that surgery, and I don't know the specifics of his surgery, but I know from my experience with that, because I had that happen, I got landed on and ruptured an Achilles.
Thanks.
If they do the surgery, generally what they're doing is it's torn, and they chop it, and then they reattach it like this, and your foot is like this. So if you think normally you're bending your foot is like this, and this is the tendon, it's tight. And the rehab is you're stretching the tendon over time. You're coming back very tight on one side, and it throws your hips and it throws everything out of balance. It's a tough injury to come back from.
Poor Daniel Jones. He has to go through that now. Poor man.
Who does? Oh, the
Daniel
football player?
Jones. Yes.
Yeah. Is that what he tore his Achilles?
I believe it was his Achilles.
Is that where they're bringing Philip Rivers in? Is that the story?
On the practice squad.
That's wild. I'm curious. I'm not even like a big football fan. And it's a really tough injury to come back from. It affects your hips. It affects your knees. So it was natural when you get back on skates, and you could see even in camp for the Red Wings, they didn't have him in the rookie camp. So they took their time getting him into games, even in exhibition. And I thought he looked good, but it was going to be an adjustment. I think he has like 15 points his last 7 games or something in the WHL.
He's been killing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a great player. He's a really amazing prospect for the Red Wings. So that is a terrific asset for them. I mean, that is a guy that could project as good or better than Nate Danielson.
That's a very interesting
but, like, absolutely. If you like what you see from Emmett Finney as a 7th round pick, you got to project Carter that or higher.
Like, well, you hope so. He's a first round pick, right? That's what fans hope for.
Yeah, for sure. And there is that, but then there's the reality of, okay, it's over, you're picked. And Emmett Finney, if you go back and look at his WHL numbers, like they are very similar. I think Carter's a tougher player, and I think Carter's going to fill out, and he'll be like a little bit bigger, but very high hockey IQ, very good compete, maybe a little bit different skating style. He's got kind of a hunched over style, but I don't know. He's a really good prospect for the Red Wings. He's exciting. And a good leader.
Now touch on, did he get, in terms of his play, you highlighted how many points he's gotten over his last 10 games played, which is fantastic. He's going to continue doing that. Touch on his invitation to the World Junior Championship for Team Canada, because a lot of people inside that realm probably didn't have him pegged because of the Achilles injury and then the injury that he had slightly earlier in the season, because he has missed some time but has really picked it up ever since then. But is it a little bit of luck, or is that just a true testament that
no luck,
the staff running the show over there for the World Junior Championship Team Canada has recognized the good work ethic that Carter Bear brings and can bring to Team Canada.
Yeah, he's a gamer, right? Like he's a really good playmaker. He can score goals. Like he's got a really, really good motor, and he's got toughness, right? Like he's willing to mix it up physically a little bit, even though he's not like a big guy. He's always willing to get into the mix. So if you're Dale Hunter that you want, like you definitely at least want him in camp. He's going to add to the competitiveness, and they don't do a super competitive camp anymore, so there's a pretty good chance there. I don't even know if are they going to make cuts. I haven't even paid attention. I mean, Canada's finished 5th 2 years in a row without Russia, so they want to change that. So if you want to win, you want a competitive guy like that that's going to do a lot of different things for you. Like he's a guy that can really help Canada.
Yeah. So hopefully he makes it. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Everett's like top 3 in the CHL. I think Hamilton is first, and they're like second or third.
Yeah. It does sound like there have been some injuries within the U19 players that are Canadian born, which has seemed to have, I don't want to say fully cemented Carter Bear's spot within the team, but that does seem to be the route that it is going. And for good reasons too, based on what you just said. And the stats don't lie, the statistics don't lie either, that Carter Bear should have a really good shot at making Team Canada's roster for the World Junior Championship.
Yeah, and he can absolutely impact and help that team do something.
All right, Michael, this is where the fun now begins. We are going to shift over to the most highly relevant topic amongst the NHL, not just for the Detroit Red Wings, but in the NHL right now. Quinn freaking Hughes, former Norris Trophy winner in the NHL.
Year, right? Did he win last year?
Or
was the year before?
Great question.
Why am I blanking? Is it last year or the year before?
I'm about to look it up. That's a great question.
What year are we in?
The year is 2069.
That's like crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, Cal won it last year, and then he won it
2024.
Yeah, 2024. I mean, listen, he's, a lot of people say he's the second best defenseman in the NHL. He's got like amazing wheels. He's got really high hockey IQ. He can shoot the puck, even though he's only got 2 goals this year, which is weird. But he's got a whippy shot. And when he steps in, like if you look at a lot of his goals, he's able to kind of pinch down that left side and on, special teams, or if the defense collapses, and he can pick spots there. He can really score. He's got good motor. He's not a big guy. Like whatever you think he is, he's 5'10", maybe 5'9". But he's an elite skater. So this is one of the not many premier defensemen in the league from an offensive point of view. And he's defensively aware. Like if he makes really smart defensive plays, he's not going to overpower anybody. I don't know, who's a better skater than him? Maybe Cale Makar, maybe his brothers. Not many guys like Connor McDavid. He's amongst the elite skaters. So all these things add up. He's got a Michigan history, right, with NCAA. There's a lot of like hand wringing over the fact that Red Wings didn't pick him. I can tell you at the time of that draft, that was not surprising.
100. I'm with you there. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that there are trends, right? There are trends in how people draft. That was a weird draft, because the talk was, there's no centers and everybody needs centers. And there's some gamesmanship that goes on between teams. So you saw Barrett Hayton, you had Jesperi Kotkaniemi. How does Brady Tkachuk fall to where he fell? Like, probably should have been first. So, I think that was one of those years there was a lot of FUD going on. And, Zadina, I think we all thought Zadina was going to translate, because he's got a high talent level. He's got a high work ethic. Seemed to be a good defensive player too, but just very robotic, unfortunately. So it's never really translated.
You're breaking my heart the more we talk about it.
Yeah. So anyways, the point being, it's, what do they call it? Hindsight is 2020, right? Like I think at the time it wasn't surprising that Quinn Hughes went where he went, which I think was 7th. Does that sound right?
It was right after the Red Wings selected 6th. Yeah. And for those that don't know, it is, I believe it may be on record, or the rumbling was, if they did not select Filip Zadina, who was supposed to be a top 3 pick, making the connection there, Carter Bear, before his injury, was projected to potentially be a top 3 pick as well. Zadina didn't have that issue. He somehow ended up falling 6th, which was all of Detroit Red Wings fans' dreams. Everyone was super excited. In hindsight, like you said, 2020, that was probably more than likely the correct choice.
Yeah, it seemed like
and
it.
you look at Quinn Hughes, who was directly in your backyard, though. So it's a little surprising still.
It's why Sidney's
missed
not the GM
call.
anymore.
Correct. Yeah. And that was a huge blatant missed call. And that's something that is probably one of the reasons why Kenny Holland is no longer. And who was the scout at that time for amateur
Tyler
scouting?
Wright, maybe?
What's that?
Maybe Tyler Wright?
Tyler Wright. Yes. Thank you. And Tyler Wright, I don't even think, is he still within the NHL at
I'm
any
sure
capacity?
he is, yeah. I thought he was with Montreal or Edmonton.
I think that's where he went with Ken Holland, and I think they ended up letting him go at some point.
That's a good question. Let's look. We'll find out. I honestly can't even remember it. No. Oh, he's LA. He's with Kenny Holland in LA, director of player personnel.
All right.
And LA is doing really well. And Kenny Holland went to 2 Stanley Cup finals with Edmonton.
No complaints there.
Yeah, and he was in Edmonton with them, and he was now in LA.
Well, I hope he went to 2 Stanley Cup finals with 2 of the greatest players in the whole entire league. Kenny Holland boy. But nonetheless, yes, in 2020 is hindsight on that. You could have had Quinn Hughes. Now, here we are. What is this? Almost 8 years later, right? Yeah. 8 years later, I believe it was the 2018 draft or 2017 draft, whatever draft it was.
It was 17.
Talking about Quinn Hughes being a target for the Detroit Red Wings. It is no secret that maybe all 30 other teams are going after Vancouver. There's probably a few select here and there that can't meet the asking price. All we know so far, Michael, is the Vancouver Canucks are looking for center depth. They are looking for someone who is under the age of 24, who can come in, potentially be a top 6 fit for them down the line in the future. Hopefully with Elias Pettersson, if he even stays with them himself. Who knows what direction the Vancouver Canucks want to go in, Michael. The Detroit Red Wings easily meet that. There is another team that a lot of people online are saying should be in on him because his brothers are there, is the New Jersey Devils. I don't like the argument, even if Quinn Hughes on record has said, I would love to play with my brother someday.
Go to New Jersey. Like, why would he not? There's nothing stopping him from going to New Jersey now or in the future. Like, the only thing is, does he have no movement clause? I can't remember. I haven't checked his contract.
Nothing, no protection whatsoever.
No protection. And he's only 7.8 mil. So if he's not going to agree to a long-term contract, you're not going to give up as much. You still might give up a lot. So if you're Detroit, do you give up like a Trey Augustine and a Marco Kasper to get him for a rental for a year and a half? Like, you're not ready to compete for a Stanley Cup. He's only played in 2 playoffs his entire career. Now he's phenomenal talent. Like, he's, points per game is crazy for defensemen. Absolutely amongst the elite skating defensemen that are in the NHL. Obviously a Norris Trophy winner. Haven't had anyone like, win a Norris Trophy in Detroit for a while since Lidstrom. So you go, oh, that's all enticing. But, are you willing to sacrifice those 2 pieces and maybe a draft pick? And then if they're demanding a guy like ASP or Edvinsson, I don't see that. Like, you see the drop-off already of losing Edvinsson for like 4 or 5 games. I guess it's 3 games, right? And they, it causes a big problem. Okay, great. If you pull out Edvinsson, you stick a Quinn Hughes in, does that solve anything? So then, the logical argument is ASP, but you can see what ASP is. He's 20. The guy's 20 and he's getting like top power play time. He gets the puck out of his own zone. He's really, really high hockey IQ and he walks the offensive blue line. He's an elite skater. He can think the game at a really, really high level. So maybe he doesn't have 20, points right now, but it's not hard to project that he's just going to keep getting better. So you go, okay, are you going to do all that for a rental? I don't think it makes sense,
So a couple questions for you here. I guess I answered the one that's prevalent to you because it's going to come in bunches here. So yeah, Quinn Hughes in a package deal. A lot of Red Wings fans seem to think It's either you're going to have to include a center prospect, whether if that's Marco Kasper, Nate Danielson. On top of that, they also believe you would have to insert at least one defensive prospect. And the two that
You don't have many.
come up is Simon Edvinsson and Axel Sandin Pellikka. I just don't believe Steve Yzerman is in a world where this is the best way I can say it. If you move one of the two, you're getting Quinn Hughes back. Okay, you're fixing your top pair out.
For how long?
Which is actually doing really good right now with Simon Edvinsson and Moritz Seider. You're kind of creating another hole.
You're creating another hole
because you're missing a top 4 guy that you need. So I
don't
see
do it on
how
his own, right?
Yzerman tried to trade either of those two guys. So in the likelihood, we talked on the goaltending. You even brought it up. Vancouver may be interested in one of Cossa. I think they would be more interested in Cossa because he's a little closer to the area based on his junior. I think that they'd also be more interested in Nate Danielson because of the same thing. Very close to their territories in that sense. I also think that they might be interested in. You brought up a lot of the wingers that we have. I mean, you didn't even mention like Buchelnikov, but I mean, we have
Genborg.
Genborg, Max Plant, who's been killing it in the NCAA. Plenty of others.
There's a lot. That's what I was saying. Like I said in one comment, which on Twitter and kind of an exchange there, like you could survive giving up one of your centermen, a winger, draft picks, no problem, right? Even if you really rolled the dice and said you treat it like an experiment, just bringing in a super high-end talent like this changed the whole game for them. Like, are suddenly you a contender? I don't believe you are. I think you still have massive problems. And we've seen in his entire, 8-year career, he's been in the playoffs twice. So Quinn Hughes alone does not solve problems in your lineup.
Correct.
So I think you go, well, how do we get another Edvinsson? How do we get another ASP? Those are really hard to come by pieces.
And a lot of people's argument, Michael, is that if you were to trade one or the two, the extra bump you're getting from a Norris winning trophy winner in Quinn Hughes makes up that difference. Not to be a contender, but that is the difference level between either Simon Edvinsson or ASP between a Quinn Hughes is far in between. Maybe it's safe to say the team would still be a playoff lock, but like you just said, top 4 defensemen don't just grow on trees, because you look at the Detroit Red Wings depth chart right now, it's Moritz Seider, Simon Edvinsson, Ben Chiarot, Albert Johansson, and this is just an order based on whatever Elite Prospects wants to put it at, and playing in the NHL down to the AHL, and then under that. And then under ASP, it's Hamonic, Bernard Docker, Gustafsson, Hall, Lagesson, Mitchell. And then way down there, you have Wallander and Shai Buyam.
Yeah.
So what is the gap between ASP and those two players, and Wallander and Buyam? Because I think it's far in between.
It's a lot.
And I don't think fans should be expecting them to be the savior of if we were to move on from a Simon Edvinsson or an ASP, or even finding one in free agency, because I've seen that take as well. It's just not going to work out. So what can the Red Wings do to secure, I guess more so for Steve Yzerman, what can Steve Yzerman do to secure not trading Edvinsson or ASP? I don't think that they are, what do you call it? They're I don't want to say that they're untouchables. I think Steve Yzerman is just going to do everything in his power not to include them in a package to acquire a Quinn Hughes. So what could Steve Yzerman do?
I don't know. It's tough. Like, if you're not giving up one of those pieces, that could be a no deal for them, right? Whereas they could go to New Jersey and they could get a Simon Nemec. Like, they could get a guy like that. And I understand the right-hand, left-hand shot thing, but that can be resolved over time. Like, we're seeing, okay, he was a 2nd overall pick. It took some time in the AHL. He can play. Like, he's always been a top guy at his age. That could be a top 2 or 3 defenseman right there. Is he a number 1? Maybe not. Like, I don't think that might not be a realistic thing for them. But you're going to say the same thing about ASP or Edvinsson. So I don't know. It's really tough. Like, I think right now it's a tough deal to make, especially if he's not going to sign a contract, because his next contract, does he get 12, 13, 14, 15 million?
You have to sign Simon Edvinsson next season.
Well, but if you look at Quinn Hughes, what is he going to get paid?
Well, exactly.
He's going to
Correct.
get big bucks, man. And that throws that throws a wrench in their whole salary structure, although the salary cap's going to the moon. Like, especially if they add a couple more teams and, if they add a couple more teams to the broadcast deal, like there's 3 Infinity Stones not in there that really make everybody money, right? Which is like Atlanta, Houston, and Phoenix. Like that completes the top 12 media markets, and that gets everybody money, right? Especially and then there's 2 expansion teams. Like you get $1 billion each, puts money in everybody's pocket, right? So there's that. But that aside, I don't know. It's just it's a tough problem to solve because you've got Seider, you've got Edvinsson, and then you got ASP. Okay, if you pull out an ASP and you put in a Quinn Hughes, you still need one more guy.
On your back end, I mean, it goes from Seider down to JBD or Hamonic. I mean, and both of those are your bottom 2 pairings, right? It's really not fixing that much. No. You're kind of just swapping players almost at that point.
That's the way I feel. So I feel like New Jersey would have more to offer in that sense. Like they could put a couple pieces together and knowing that he's going to sign. He's going to sign in New Jersey if they trade for him. Is he going to sign in Detroit if you trade for him? That would have to be part of the deal. If it is part of the deal and you're willing to sign him for the right number, you do like either a sign-in trade or you have a number agreed to and you sign him as soon as he comes over. Okay, then you're definitely going to give up one of those defensemen. You're definitely going to give up picks, and you're definitely going to give up like a Danielson, maybe a Finney. Like that's going to be the haul. If it's not, you go, am I willing to sacrifice a Trey Augustine, an ASP, a Nate Danielson, and a first for a guy that's there a year and a half? That's tough. It's like a no.
Do you think GMs make trades? And I guess thinking back to the most relevant one was the Mikko Rantanen trade. There was 2 of them, from Colorado to Carolina, from Carolina to Dallas. Obviously with Carolina, and I'm assuming this is why he got traded again. I'm not sure about the contract side, but maybe you know a little bit more about that than I do.
They offered him.
It wasn't working out in Carolina. So maybe Carolina just didn't want to re-sign him, and they figured, okay, well, this is...
he wouldn't sign. They offered him the truck, apparently, is the story. Like, I don't know that firsthand, but everything I read was they offered him maybe more than he got in Dallas. He did not know he was getting traded.
Right.
He thought he was going to re-sign in Colorado. Colorado's looking pretty smart because you're seeing how talented Martin Necas is. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of part of the equation. So the Rantanen thing is exactly your risk. You move all those assets, you bring him in, and then you got to flip him again before the end of the year. And then you're staring at New Jersey going, well, what do you guys got? And they know they got you over a barrel. Now, he's got another year after this. So that, maybe there's not that much pressure and you just have like a really advantageous like salary number. You still have an issue with depth of bodies, but maybe just do it, right? Maybe go, listen, this is an upgrade. I'm going to figure out how to get another top 4 defenseman. I've got the second best defenseman in the league offensively. It immediately improves everything, like my power play, my ability to get out of my own zone. He chews up 24 minutes a game along with Moritz Seider. Like that's, win-win-win. That's the gamble. And we have more than enough depth to deal with the forward losses, whether it's you move Danielson, you keep Kasper, and then you try to sign him. I guess where it gets ugly is if he doesn't sign.
Correct. So the question I want to ask you is, Eric Tulsky, the general manager for the Carolina Hurricanes, do you think that he pulled the trigger on that trade with the Colorado Avalanche first with the full intent that I can get Mikko Rantanen to extend with us? Do you think GMs work under that condition, or what do you think that they're doing? What makes their team better now and then kind of worry about that later on? Or do you think
the dice? I think he had an owner that was like tolerant of him rolling the dice. He's a numbers guy. These are like, hedge fund guys. And they played the numbers and it was a calculated risk. Martin Necas was not working out there for whatever reason. Super talent, as we're seeing. Thought he should play a bigger role and they didn't agree on that role. So it was like, well, what do we have to lose? Let's package it up, get a guy that we think fits our culture, and just was blindsided. Like, I think Mikko was just blindsided from the sounds of it. Didn't have great communication of being moved. So then he's like, no, I'm going to call my own shot, trade me. And they traded him again. They just traded him and they got a good piece. They got Logan Stankoven. What else did they get? Get a pick out of it? Or they got something else.
Yeah, they ended up getting a couple picks, and I think there was one more player. I think Jack Drury was a part of that as well, unless it was
he's
the other
turned out
trade.
okay, right? I think he's done okay. Or is it going the other way?
So for Steve Yzerman perspective, if he did not believe that Quinn Hughes was going to sign an extension, because if you made the trade today, Michael, he can't sign the extension until July 1st, 2026. For those that didn't know that, because he still has time on his contract. So
you can't do an extension.
Do you believe Steve Yzerman would pull the trigger on making the trade now without having the full confidence that a Quinn Hughes would re-sign, even if you did back up the Brinks truck for him?
You know, I just don't know him personally or the personality. Like, I think no matter what, if you put yourself in that situation, you know, they've been very, very patient developing these guys. They have the assets, they can make the move. You're definitely taking a calculated risk that you think that you're going to sign him. And if not, then you know you got to flip him again.
And it's going to be very difficult to get those. I mean, you can't get a Nate Danielson back. You can't get an ASP back. You can't get a Simon Edvinsson back. You can get maybe players similar to their caliber.
Good question. What could you get? So yeah, it's a great question. Okay, so let's play it out. You go, all right, we know we send Nate Danielson, ASP, a first round pick, and Trey Augustine to Vancouver. You get back Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes does not want to sign long term. You get him here and he won't agree to a number, 12, 15 million, or you don't like the number. You have this year and next year with him at 7.85. So you play it out as long as you can. The worst case scenario is you get him for a year and a half. You get him this year and next year, and then he walks. And then you get nothing for those other guys. And you still
that's the worst case.
That's the worst case, right? And then maybe it's a Simon Edvinsson instead of ASP, and the same thing. Like you know, you have a hard time replacing those pieces. Defensemen like that are tough to find, and they're young, right? They're both young. They're playing the NHL. Scenario 2 is you do that, he still won't sign, and you do what Carolina did, and they managed to pull off a deal because New Jersey really wants him, and maybe not in the off season, but maybe early in next season, you move him to New Jersey, and you get Dawson Mercer, and you get Simon Nemec, and you go, okay, well, we lose that deal for overall. Maybe you get a second pick back or a first pick, right? And you say, well, Dawson's a 25, 30 goal scorer. He fits into our culture. And Nemec is like a second pairing defenseman. He's a top 3. So then we're back where we started and, you know, not the end of the world. Maybe that's what you do.
Do you believe, or how do I want to ask this? I got to be very careful how I ask.
Augustine, you know, or vice versa, right? You trade Cossa thinking, okay, we got these veteran goalies. We extend Cam Talbot and we sign Augustine right away and say, you're going to be in the NHL, son. Done deal. So you could roll the dice for sure. It's not like a horrible equation. You could figure it out. It's just tough to make deals, you know, in the NHL between salary cap and bodies and everything else.
Who do you believe currently between the Detroit Red Wings and the New Jersey Devils has the best opportunity to propose a trade? But also on top of that, who is most likely to pull the trigger on something like this? You said the Detroit Red Wings have the assets to where it may not hurt them as much if you don't have to include Simon Edvinsson, Axel Sandin, Pellikka. From New Jersey's standpoint, you hear a lot of Simon Nemec. You hear whatever center that they want to throw in. I've seen some of the comments from New Jersey Devils fan base. They don't want to move on Hischier or maybe another one of their center players that they have. That's more than likely what Vancouver would want. It does sound like that they do want to go somewhat into a rebuild, but not, I don't want to call it a retool on the fly, but it certainly does sound like that they might want to go into a rebuild.
Vancouver?
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
I'd be shocked if they move Hischier. I think that really would hurt them. You've got Anton Silyaev still in the system. You've got Simon Nemec. You got 2 defensive prospects there. You have, I think do you still have Seamus Casey?
They do.
Yeah, that would be lower down. Like that's, you know, less interesting. I would think you would have to do something with like a Dawson Mercer You would have to do something with a pick, and you have to do something with like Nemec and maybe even Siliayev. And that might be pretty good. Like you might be more than willing to do that to have the trifecta of the Hughes brothers. Like those are 3 elite skating, like talented players, right? And they love playing together and they're competitive, right, with each other. So it's kind of fun.
And let's say the Vancouver Canucks did accept something relative to that from the New Jersey Devils.
Would you move it Jesper Bratt? He's like your 3rd or 2nd leading scorer probably, right?
But would you say in a trade with something like that from the New Jersey Devils to the Vancouver Canucks for Quinn Hughes, does that make even the New Jersey Devils an instant playoff Stanley Cup contending team? Because from the perspective of if Wings fans think that whatever we send over is going to hurt this team and it doesn't make us an immediate contender, why wouldn't it be the same for the New Jersey Devils? Because they already have Jack and Luke?
Well, for sure. I mean, those are 3 elite players. You still got Heeshire. You still have Dougie Hamilton. You still have Pesce in that defense, right? So you've still got some talent there. Just depends what else. You got that Russian kid that's really good. Gritsyuk, I don't know if you've seen him play. He can really play. Yeah, you got Brendan Dillon back there still. Is Pesce still hurt? I think he is, right?
They have a good number of injuries out right now. Yeah.
You got some guys. So I don't know. It's tough, but I don't think you really care. I think it locks in all the Hughes. They're all happy. They're all stars. And that's definitely, they're going to compete. I mean, not many teams are going to have that.
And that's money. That's a lot of money in their pockets with another Hughes on the back of a jersey too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, what is Luke getting, 9? I think he's 9 million, right? And if you watch him, like he's a really talented player. He's a little bigger than the other Hughes brothers. Jack is obviously a star level talent, just can't stay healthy. So that's kind of concerning. You know, Heeshire's kind of looks like he's got over that, you know, part of his career where he's kind of hurt a lot. You still have Jesper Bratt there and Meyer. Who else is there? Yeah, I just think you're going to have to give up, like, you're going to have to give up Nemec. You're going to have to give up Mercer or Bratt. That's probably what you got to do. And you probably got to give up, like, a Siliayev. I'm trying to think if they have a young goalie or not. They got Nico Dawes. I don't know how well he's doing. But yeah, definitely. I don't know. That's tough. It's a little more obvious that Detroit would have some pieces they want.
Which team do you believe is most likely to land Quinn Hughes in a trade if it were to happen today?
Vegas.
I made that comment last episode too, that Vegas is probably in on Quinn Hughes as well. You can never count them out. Same as the Florida Panthers.
How is Las Vegas not going to figure a way to make that happen? They're like, every year, they're all in all the time. He's only $7.8 million.
That's still very cheap.
Vegas looks at this 1 year at a time. So you look at Vegas, they just invested a ton in Mitch Marner. They've lost Alex Pietrangelo. Yes, they have Shea Theodore, but they really could probably use one more like top guy like that. They just got Carter Hart, and it looks like he's going to figure it out. So you go, why wouldn't Vegas do this? And they eat their young, right? Like they're like, well, what do we got? Like, how many picks do you want? You know, you can have Trevor Conley. You can have, you know, all our first round picks to here till eternity, and let's throw in some other pieces that you find attractive. So it's actually kind of interesting. You go, it sounds ridiculous, but I was talking to my cousin a couple years ago at the draft when it was in Vegas, and he goes, you know why they compete every year? Because if they don't, everybody gets fired. They're like, there is no tomorrow for the Vegas Golden Knights, according to him. So you look at that lineup, you go, you know, what do they got? Everything's on the table. Do you move Akira Schmid? No, they're not going to want him back. What do they got? They got Zach Whitecloud, who's probably not getting minutes right now. Braden Bowman's playing real well. He's a good piece. I hate to say, I don't think they're going to move. Would they move Dorofayev? I can't imagine that. But they might be
for Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, like they're gonna try to figure it out. Right?
We're gonna have to wait and see. So, who has the better opportunity currently right now, if they were to make a trade, and a short answer, Michael, is it Detroit or is it New
Detroit's
Jersey?
got all the assets. If the willingness is there, you can clearly see they have more assets than anyone at every position.
And is it more likely for Vancouver to trade Quinn Hughes this season or in the off season? Which makes more sense for the Vancouver Canucks? Because from a Detroit Red Wings perspective, if Vancouver waited, it would make more sense for us to trade for Quinn Hughes closer to July 1 and see if there's an opportunity for an extension in place with the trade. But what is most likely for Vancouver?
I just think it depends on the other side. Like if Detroit puts all the assets on the table you want and they're saying, look, we're going to deal with it. It's cheap. It's this year and next year. And we still got some runway to flip them if we have to, but we think we're going to get them signed. They would do it now, right? Like I think they've called an audible, so to speak, on their whole team, right? They thought moving JT Miller out would solve things. Has not. You know, their coach is having success elsewhere with Rick Tocchet gone. He obviously wasn't the problem. They just have goalie issues with injuries. Peterson, like, you know, one of the Petersons. There's 3 on that team. And I don't know who's who. There's Eliash and Eliash. I don't know what the hell they call it. It's like, got 2 guys with the same name, and the better one is like not doing so great still. Like, and they've given them they backed up the truck, you know. They've got,
for me with Vancouver, it always goes back to the.
They're going to want to move all this at once, you know. I think they just want to, like, you can see if you're looking at that roster, you want to do a reset.
That's what it seems like. I mean, they've kind of had, I remember in the good old days when it was Roberto Luongo, and then I think it was, who was it, Corey Schneider the time?
Yep.
They had all those issues, right? So this organization has been up and down on the roller coasters for sure. I definitely feel bad for their fan base.
I don't know.
I could only imagine what it must be to go through hell, basically. That's kind of what it seems like. I mean, you've had some really great players going in and out of that organization throughout the years.
Yeah, they're a weird hodgepodge right now. Like, I don't know. If you're Quinn Hughes, you're probably not thrilled. Peterson, well, he's inching up back towards a point a game, but you know, he's still like, you know, he's got 22 points in 28 games, so that's a little better. Maybe that's turned around a little bit. They paid the price to keep Brock Besser. Was he on pace for 45 points or something? It's okay. You know, Kiefer Sherwood was an absolute theft from oblivion. You know, Nashville kind of just let that guy walk. DeBrusk's not worked out. You know, they just have a lot of parts that don't mesh. You can see why they want center depth. Garland is different. Like that's a weird piece, you know. Evander Kane's a weird piece. Like, Ratty's been doing well lately. I think he's got 6 points his last 5 games. I don't think that's like, I don't know. Does anybody still project him as being a top 6? I don't think so.
You can tell Vancouver definitely hit the panic button a little sooner than they probably needed to without thoroughly investigating what the internal core issue still seems like that's very relevant right now. But in your mind, Michael, and we can wrap it up from here, what is the reason why Quinn Hughes would extend to Detroit? And other than my brothers live and play in New Jersey, why he wouldn't extend with the Detroit Red Wings if Steve Yzerman went out and traded for him? So why he would extend with him and why he would not?
I mean, if you believe in what's going on, there's still, even after that trade, a lot of depth of prospects. And they conceivably would be a lot more talented, a lot more seasoned with a guy like that. And he goes, okay, I'm a difference maker here. This team is on the cusp of 10 years in a row in the playoffs finally. They still have goalie depth. They still have forward depth. They're still one defenseman away with me going over, but we're a lot better in our top 3. And that's the way. Then you go, yeah, I'll sign. And you know, he'd have to just buy into that. And it's a pretty good picture. New Jersey, it's your 3 bros. Like your brothers are stars, you know. Everybody's getting paid. You're New York adjacent. And you know, I don't know. What is New Jersey's situation? I can't even tell. Like, where are they in the standings? I thought they had a good start, but
They're
Got a lot of
below us.
injuries, right?
We have a very similar record than they do. We're just slightly ahead of them. I do know that they have cap's going to be an issue for them if they were to trade for him this season. They would
Really?
have to work out the money side. They're technically in the negative right now for projected cap space, but I think the injuries are helping them out because of that. So I don't know. I just personally, to me, Michael, I don't like the argument of, like I've said earlier, I know he said he would love to play with his brothers, but that would be me. That kind of like me saying, I love my brothers so much that I'm going to move an hour away just to go be closer to them and work at a job that I really don't like personally.
Well, he would
I mean,
love New
it's
Jersey.
still a little
He would
different.
love New Jersey. They would be.
I get that. It's a little different, but that's the best comparison that I can make to me internally with
that would be like
Quinn
the
Hughes
dream
right
team
now.
for
I don't
that.
know. I just think it's a silly argument to say just because my brothers are there, that's the only place I want to go. Maybe he doesn't want to be anywhere near his brothers. There could be a
No, they would
very
love to
good
play there,
chance
I'm
that
sure.
maybe there's a very good chance maybe he doesn't even want to be back in Michigan and be close to family. Who knows? Because kind of like how you said, I mean, with Trey Augustine. Trey Augustine, he's played here with MSU. Does he want to be in Detroit for the rest of his life? Who knows? It's the same thing with some of these other players as well. Players don't always want to be in the same spot all the time, and they want to be able to go out and be in different places that they've heard. And maybe that's why, even look at Mitch Marner. He went from Toronto all the way to Vegas. That's a huge jump for him. He was so familiar with Canada, and then going over to Vegas, party central. He probably loves it over there.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. If you look at that, it's a good, you look at New Jersey, there's definitely a way for them to do it. Does it put them over the top, or is he kind of treading water? I got to think that the three of them healthy, that's like crazy for a lot of reasons. Like, I think they are definitely a contender if they're healthy. Obviously.
And that's kind of, and you bring that up because Jack and Luke, I don't think either have played a full 82 game season in the NHL. Maybe Jack has once.
Yeah, because I don't know. Like, if you look at last year, Jack's out again, right? He's missed 12.
Yeah, Tate McRae's got to stop holding knives on him.
That's so wacky.
For the record, Tate McRae did not hold a knife up to Jack Hughes.
But that's just a wacky injury, off. So Luke missed a little bit of time last year. Well, the other guy that's out is Philip Cheadle. So how much better are Vancouver with him? I was going to ask, because does that solve their second center issue? Like, he's only played 6 games, right?
And not very
kind
many.
of a weird scenario. Like, you would have thought he would have been second line center in Vancouver. But to answer the New Jersey question, I think there's no doubt he'd sign there. I think that would be like their dream. And, maybe there's a good argument for Detroit. Like, when you really think it through, you go, listen, we would survive no matter what with this move. We get an elite player for 18 months at the very worst case. It shows that we can contend if that's what happens. You're giving yourself the absolute best opportunity that way. You still have holes on defense, but, it doesn't really change anything. Detroit's got the best assets. It's possible he would sign there. It may not be right away.
From here, Michael, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, right? It's still a pretty long season. The Detroit Red Wings have only played 30 games. So, I don't know. All I can say is in that post-game video commentary that we got of Quinn Hughes, that man just looks absolutely defeated. I definitely feel for him because that's what happens every game. It seems like the media just keeps on asking him, how do you feel about these rumblings? Everything else that comes along
with it. He's in the Canadian market.
Yeah.
It's like religion.
We're going to have to wait and see if maybe it comes down to where he tells them, like, hey, you have to trade me, like, right now. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think I personally, to me, I think from a Vancouver perspective and from a Detroit Red Wings perspective, it makes both sense for both of them to do it July 1st, 2026, or at least around there, because then the Detroit Red Wings, you can hand them over your 2026 first round pick, assuming that's going to be a better pick than New Jersey's, then whatever else that you have to include in that, maybe like a 28 first as well. I don't think Detroit would move on their 27 first because they don't have a second, but that's maybe set for another discussion. But I think for both Vancouver and Detroit, that would make the most sense. For New Jersey, it sounds like they can kind of do it whenever they want. It really just kind of comes down to them if they feel like if now is the best time to do it, especially with their slew of injuries, or
if you're going to do it now, man. Like, just pull the damn trigger. You put a bunch of bodies into Vancouver. You solve a problem there. Detroit gets to find out how good this guy is and if he changes the trajectory. And conceivably, you go, we're one player away still, which is where we're at today.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think we can wrap it up here, Michael. Go ahead and tell the boys and girls once again where they can find you, what you do, and your final thoughts after this recording that you had with me.
For all my terrible contrarian opinions, you can see me at Pucks and Dreams _ on X Twitter. I honestly just like to play devil's advocate, and I think, you just think through, like, what's the likely scenario? Deals like this are really tough. It would be crazy if they happened. I hope Trey Augustine signs. I hope they trade for Quinn Hughes, and I hope it all works out. And Detroit's in the playoffs for the next 10 years. That's all we all care about.
I'm just going to copy and paste exactly what Michael said. I just want what's best for the Detroit Red Wings team and for the Vancouver Canucks organization as well. If you want some good picks and players back, come hit up Steve Yzerman and the Detroit Red Wings. We won't fleece you too bad. Give us Quinn Hughes, our Michigan boy. We absolutely could use him. Maybe a little bit better than what you guys have. But I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us on this brand new episode. Once again, if you are returning, if you are brand new, thanks for stopping by. If you are watching or listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, hit that notification bell. We're also on Spotify and Apple. I forgot to say that at the start of this episode. You can also find us on all the major social media platforms like Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, all those places. Michael, let the fans, viewers, watchers, listeners at home where they can find you online once again.
Easiest place is on Twitter, X at Pucks and Dreams _.
And with that being said, Michael, thank you for joining me once again on this. I had a blast as always. We're definitely going to have to bring you on again in the future, definitely before the season ends.
How about those Ducks?
And maybe by that time we got Quinn Hughes. Maybe that's when we bring you on next, is when we acquire Quinn Hughes. We're putting it out there in the world. It could be never. So then you guys might never see Michael on the show again if it never happens.
In which case, I'm going to start an Anaheim Ducks podcast because they're crushing it.
Here goes Michael talking about his Ducks. Okay, until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one. See ya. We love you. Goodbye.